Good evening, Quack and Smite League. I am your host, Bonzaijoe, along with other hosts, Paniq, Skeet, Rectoplasm, and Simple Fate, here for a weekly update show where we're going to be recapping what's happened in the Quack and Smite League for the past week or so and look forward to the next week of games. Boys, how you doing tonight?
Well, doing well, Joe. How about yourself, man?
Not too bad. Not too bad at all. We had a great weekend last weekend that extended a little long into this week because of some server issues on Monday. We can recap that, but that Booney versus Kepri set got drug out for a couple days. But we have some great games to talk about, some really good sets, and why don't we just hop on into it, guys?
Definitely. Let's look at this very first game of the week that we had. Our very first game of season two of QSL here was Dharmic Killers versus All In. And let me just tell you, I was in the casting booth with I was in the casting booth for that entire set, and let me tell you, that was one heck of a three-game set. Back and forth, all game long. You never really knew who was gonna win. I mean, we were making predictions left and right. Whoever was behind in the early game was the one that ended up winning the set. There was predictions flying left and right. Now I know, Joe, that you were directly involved in that game, so I would like to hear some of your thoughts. Like, what do you think about that game? Like, I know that you guys did end up taking that 2-1, the 2-1 defeat, but I kind of want to hear like what your thoughts were, like as a set, because that was definitely that earned game of the week honors for sure for me.
Yeah, absolutely. There were times where, I mean, we were in the middle of the game. NMR couldn't have said it better. We had, say, 2 3k gold lead or maybe a 2 3k gold deficit, but nothing ever seemed out of the question. All of our team fights were incredibly close. They all came down to positioning, who hit what, taking your opportunities where they came from. And whether we were down 4K or up 4K, you always had to play so carefully, so on your toes. Otherwise, you were going to lose them. And, sadly, in game three, we lost a few more than we won. And it ended up with us taking the 2-1 loss. But honestly, all three of those games were absolutely fantastic. So close. Really well matched. I couldn't have asked for a better way to start the season.
I mean, for sure, man. Like I said, I sat in the casting booth, and that was probably one of the best sets that I've gotten to cast in probably about a year's worth of casting. I mean, the very first set I ever casted was a best of five finals in an old league I used to run, and that was long. Every game went 45 plus minutes, 5 games, and it was insane. But I kind of want to turn it back now a little bit to that specific set. I saw there's a few different times where I saw I'm already mad with a couple of those Ganesha ults, and it looked like it just was some of her placements on those Ganesha ults were just absolutely phenomenal. Going forward, that definitely looks like a ban away from the Dharma Killers. Specifically, I'm already mad. Like, she played that fantastically.
Yeah, without a
Uh,
doubt. They played up to their name completely. I'm already mad on the Ganesh game one. Played really well, had some great alt placements, and that put us in some really tough positions. I know I played the Cupid game one, didn't feel too great on it, but I know game one, a lot of our picks came around trying so hard to counter pick even and take some picks away from the enemy team, even when we didn't feel fully comfortable on them, and it kind of put us in a tough situation, which we alleviated in game two by picking some more comfort gods. But In game one, we had a lot of positioning mistakes with the Ganesh alts where I know multiple times around Gold Furies, I'm already mad had put Dharmic Pillars down, maybe in a little bottleneck area where all of us just had already put our camping chairs and tents down for the night, right? We had already pretty much cemented that was going to be our positioning, and it was so hard for us as a team to get out of those without losing 3 4 members of our team. And most times in game one we really did. We really struggled against those Ganesh alts, and we I believe we banned it games 2 and 3. Don't quote me on that. I know we banned it one of the 2 games, but um, getting her off that Ganesh was definitely a priority of ours going forward because I thought I'm already mad played just wonderfully.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that was the best set. I mean, so far that we've seen. I think that probably that definitely takes for sure set of the week honors from week one, 100%. Um, I mean, simple? Do you guys have anything to add, Skeet?
I
No, I
watched
mean
the
you spoke most of it. To be honest, like that was really one hell of a set. I didn't expect it to go. That game was flipped upside down from what I thought. I mean, Dharma Killers really surprised me. I think they showed a lot of great synergy week one, which you don't usually see. They showed a lot of good team composition. Working together, grouping up. As you said, the Ganesh ults were on point, displacing your team, putting you out of position, and really just taking advantage of that misplacement and really just taking a hold of that to gain that set lead right there, 2-1, come out on top.
Yeah,
Right. Well, let's go ahead and move into the second set of the week, which is an unfortunate forfeit. Resistance versus Goon Squad. Resistance took it 2-0.
Bridge has
Um,
got to be moved.
huh?
That was what Chevy was doing. He was moving a fridge.
Yeah. And
ah,
Bridge has got
the
to be moved.
the
and a
unfortunate
couch and a couch.
the
Bridge
unfortunate
and a couch.
circumstances behind that. So Goon Squad ended up forfeiting that game 2-0 to Resistance. So it's kind of unfortunate. So we haven't got to see Resistance or Goon Squad play yet in this season. So we shall see, this upcoming week how everything goes. Um, for both of those teams actually, getting to play in their first sets of first sets of season two. We'll see how it actually goes for those 2 squads. Uh, and there's being able to play playing their first set now. So we'll see how that goes. Let's go to Phenoms versus Gloria at Mortem. That was a 2-0 win for Phenoms against Gloria at Mortem. Skeet, you were there. You played in this set. Kind of give us a little bit of insight. I kind of want to hear a little bit of what you thought was going to happen versus what actually happened.
I think it kind of went to plan. I mean, obviously a 2-0, that you'd hope it goes to plan. I mean, our goal from the get-go was to kind of run it through duo lane, and I mean, as you can see, we literally just had Duck on cooldown. Just gank after gank after gank. We were not gonna let him play Smite that game, and we figured that was the easiest way to play it. We weren't worried about the other matchups. I felt Bacchus was going to be strong in solo, which he did. He was my vote for MVP as well as the other captains for MVP. Bacchus really showed out that game too out of the solo lane, and it all collapsed. So, I mean, I think Rye played a great game in the jungle, game one especially with that Janus mid or Janus jungle. Sorry, and I think Rye and Pitt just couldn't do much because both the side lanes were just kind of falling apart, and it all just kind of fell apart and blew up the mid lane. And I mean, that happened both games. So I mean, side lanes win games. So that's what I felt happened.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of an interesting set, really, from my perspective, because I, I mean, I played with Duck, I played against Duck, I know how he wants to play, I know how he likes to play, and unfortunately, he wasn't able to play his W key style as he has, uh, out of that ADC role. So it kind of, it could have definitely what you guys did to frustrate him, not to allow him to play, making him burn his relics and making him burn his relics and abilities. For sometimes sometimes it'd be a kill, sometimes it wouldn't be, just for him to get out to peel. So I mean, going forward, hopefully, that hopefully Gloria at Mortem kind of gets the synergy issues figured out, and be able to move forward and get some wins in. But we'll see how they bounce back from that 2-0 loss this upcoming week. Now, Booney versus Kepler. Let's discuss. So they had a reschedule issue where they already had to reschedule a game once because of people outside of leagues playing work schedules and things just weren't matching up. And then we actually had to have a postponement because during game one of their set, the servers actually went down, so they moved it to that. Yep, they moved it to the next night to play. And I thought this was kind of a back and forth set. I didn't really get a chance to watch as much because I was at work. So you guys what do you guys think? What did y'all see?
I was casting that game. Actually,
In my opinion, you could tell game one they were missing Yuri. They moved Liam back into the jungle, and I honestly feel like he's stronger in the solo lane, as he showed. I mean, obviously that first game that they had where it was getting rescheduled, I feel like Kepri was showing that synergy. That we're the defending champs kind of energy right there. Like, you can push in, you can try and be aggressive, but I mean, we're just gonna punish you. They did it time and time again. Every time Booney slightly overstepped, they punished him, and you could tell in that second set or in that reschedule, that obviously that they were missing Yuri that first game. I feel like the second game was a lot closer, and definitely showed that the sparks of both teams, and I feel like that's more what that set would have been like, back and forth, back and forth. Um, and maybe Kepri has a shot at taking that, but I feel like that first game they really, really missed having their starting jungler in there, and I feel like that kind of led to that first loss, and then the second one just kind of happened. And Simple, you were casting. How'd you feel about that one?
when like you said, when they picked back up Yuri, there was a totally different game. They put Liam back in the solo. He was back on the Cocoon. Uh, he was kind of running the solo lane, in my opinion, and also, I, I mean, I believe it was the first game. I'm kind of blazed from there, but Innie on that Raijin was just dominating, and they could not punish him. He was dashing in and just getting the picks that were necessary to just keep following up with that, and they couldn't punish him. I feel like both teams have very strong players, and they just need to build comps around them players, and they'd be very good. That they'd have very good teams based on that.
Out of my predictions, this was the set that really surprised me. Like, based off of just my predictions from the very beginning, right after the drafts. This set kind of uh, it was definitely different. I thought it was going to be dominated heavily by Kepler from the get go, because they picked up what, 4 out of the 5 returning members from that squad from last season.
Yeah.
And I kind of figured they add one player, they can play together enough just to kind of build some synergy, a little bit of synergy that they need, and it just seemed to kind of fall through a little bit. So it's not really all the way back to drawing board for them. They kind of know how it is. They played together. The majority of them played together last season, so they kind of know how to bounce back from a loss when when it did happen then. So we'll just see how they kind of bounce back, do their homework on their upcoming matchup, and just see, what happens next.
I don't think it's as much back to the drawing board for them as it is finding that same rhythm that they encountered last season. I mean, the two players that they're missing in comparison to last season is their duo lane. They don't have Duck, and they don't have Duma. And I mean, as hard as it is to replace a dual lane that has good synergy like that, if they find their guys in Cooter and Goat Boy, which are still two great players, if they find that synergy through the duo lane and get themselves back to how they performed last season, I think as soon as they find that rhythm, they'll get going back into it. It also doesn't help that Yellowjin hasn't been able to play for a while because of issues with his PC. So he was a little rusty. He came into that first game after the reschedule. I believe that was his first game of Smite since Season 8 dropped. A little bit of a tough situation for Yellowjin there. But as we'll talk about later on in the update, we'll see Yellowjin make his way back into the Season 8 comp as we go along. But for now, it was tough going for him to start up. But I think as soon as he gets back into his game and the rest of the Capri Suns start getting back into their own games as they want to play them, we'll see this team start to be better for sure.
Definitely, definitely. Well, that's kind of that kind of sums up the week 1 recap.
Now, one thing we didn't talk about, I mean, Skeet, you mentioned it lately. Something that we forgot to talk about in each of these sets as we recapped them was the MVP system. Now that we have a All-Star break coming up, Paniq, do you want to talk a little bit about MVPs?
Yeah. So this is kind of how the thought process of running the All-Star games kind of going. We're gonna have a kind of a community vote. Getting closer to the All-Star break, probably week 4, we're gonna drop a straw poll to kind of vote in a few players. So these MVP votes that you guys are getting, MVP votes that you guys are getting uh, for your sets, those are going to play a huge part in getting decided. If you get the most MVP votes, you're going to be selected as a captain, and you're going to get to select your team, and it's going to kind of be a duck soup kind of thing. Now, another thing that we've kind of discussed I'm going to kind of tease this here, is a little mini tournament. So this way that the mini league teams can get a little bit of a shine here with some of our main casters and potential to play. We talked about doing like the top 2 teams versus the bottom 2 teams out of the majors, out of the majors versus the mini teams. Something we've discussed, not 100% down yet. Other than we are going to have like that All-Star game, which is going to be a blast. I think we haven't decided if we're going to do duck soup yet or if we're going to play like real conquest and just let you guys play. We haven't fully decided that yet. There's going to be some more details released as we get closer. We're just now getting into week 2 here. Actually, starting tomorrow. Games start tomorrow for week 2 here. So some more information is going to be dropped as it gets closer. We're going to drop a straw poll and going to get some community votes in. So we'll see how it kind of goes. But yeah, so these MVP votes. So let's see, Dharmic versus All In. Let me go back and look. I don't remember who was voted the MVP of that set off the top of my head.
The MVPs were split in that set. The 2 teams decided on different MVPs. All In selected Cruz as the MVP of that set, and Dharma Killers selected Raptor.exe as the MVP of that set. Now, Phenoms versus Gloria at Mortem. As Skeet said, it was a unanimous vote for Vacus, and Babooni Squad versus the Kepwi Suns was also a unanimous vote. This time for Rapid Carnation. So 4 different players receiving MVP honors. 2 of which were unanimous in their first sets. So they already have some leverage toward the All-Star game after week 1, and we'll see who week 2 brings.
Definitely. Definitely. I mean, I think the MVP system is something that's a little bit fun, and it kind of gives those players who are playing super well or even like being pivotal in like team fights, obviously we see Rapid getting more. Rapid's playing support. He's not doing he's not doing all the damage. He's not doing top damage in the game. He might have granted he might have top mitigated, but you know it goes to show that anybody could win an MVP vote at any given in any given set because like he set his team up to succeed. I mean, with his CCs and things, you have Vacus who came out of the solo lane, same kind of deal. You had Raptor and Cruz coming out of the jungle, Raptor coming out of ADC. So it could be anybody at any given time. So, you know, there's a chance for you to a chance for you when you shine very well during a set, you get that MVP nod, and that's something to take something to take kind of pride in my opinion.
For
Yeah,
sure.
I mean, kind of touching on that, I feel like it brings another side of it too, because having both captains give the MVP vote, I think it really brings a cool aspect in. It really shows what both teams thought, was the game changer, like the guy, like the difference maker, the guy for that set, what set was it? Was it or I'm sorry, oh, Dharmic versus All In. Both teams thought, like Dharmic feels that Raptor was the difference maker. Without Raptor, he's the guy. He's the guy for their team. And All In felt like, Cruz is the problem. Cruz is the reason they lost. So it's really cool to see kind of like how different teams feel about, the different situations.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure. It's definitely something unique. I've seen it in another league that we've ran before that I've ran before. And there's kind of like a no holds barred kind of deal on it. You can vote for somebody from your team, you can vote for somebody from the other team. It kind of gives that leeway for even somebody on the losing team. Could get an MVP nod, and that's something that could very well could have happened in any of these sets, really. So it kind of gives you that nod, like who was the big problem, who was the problem child of that problem child of that game, who gave you the most issues, who was the difference maker, as you said, Skeet. So it's kind of just dependent on really what each team thinks, how the games went, and how the set as a whole went. So I like the system. It's nice. Definitely something new to have.
Yeah.
Indeed.
So, as we look on this week in recap, there's no way that we can pass up talking about roster moves. So, just as the weekend was coming to a close after the Phenoms versus Gloria at Mortem set, Skeet, you made a trade. Why don't you walk us through it?
So in this trade, Phenoms, we gave up our sub and the jungler for our game one. Okay, who has that echo? That is killing
I
me.
believe that's Paniq. Sorry.
Is it me? Hold on.
Yep.
Let me.
I'm trying to
There
talk
we
and it
go.
repeats in my ears. I'm sorry.
All right. Now
Okay,
continue
so
on, Skeet.
so my team gave up Cyber, our jungler for that set, who I think performed great in that first game, and I was happy with his performance, but I got an offer, that I couldn't refuse. We gave up Cyber and Atticus, who couldn't make it to week one because of a business trip, for the man we tried to focus out. We thought he was going to be the problem child, and we got Duck. So it was Atticus and Cyber for Duck in a 2-for-1 deal, which I think made both teams better. Obviously, some people were not very happy about it. They feel it wasn't a good trade, but I feel both teams came out better than they were before this trade. And I don't think there was any losers in this trade, to be honest here. What are your guys' opinions on it?
Well, my thoughts were, I mean, you came to me as I announced all this. I've announced 90% of these trades have gone down so far this season. Um, I think the trade was pretty okay. Both teams got better. Um, Granted, Doug probably not going to play in his main role. He's going to play off role anyway here for your squad. So I don't see how it's I don't see how it's a huge deal. I do remember Gloria did drop Dre, and you picked up Simple Fate as well to be your sub. So I really don't see that there was a giant disparity. I mean, it's a 2-for-1 trade. You traded away two players for Duck. So I kind of give both teams here an A minus on this trade. I think I think it was pretty okay for the most part. I don't see any really big issues, but we'll see how the weeks kind of move on. We'll see how the trades pan out.
Yeah, it was definitely an interesting trade that made both squads better. I think a lot of the issues that people had with the trade from Phenom's side of this is that they already had a really good squad that was made even better by this. You say, oh, this made both teams better. Um, well, on one of those sides, you had a team that was already considered one of the best in the league, if not the best, right? So.
Hashtag draft diff.
Uh,
That's all I want to say. Be
so
better, draft better.
so while Skeet goes on a rant in the background, it the the thing that a lot of people thought about this trade was, oh, you took a good team and you made it even better. But I mean, from Gloria's point of view, this is still a good trade. Cyber and Atticus are both fantastic players that uh, were were good upgrades and will perform really well for Gloria at Mortem for sure. So
I mean, like I said, I give it an A- for both squads.
yeah. So moving on, we had a smaller edition. This, granted, this happened after what we're going to talk about next, but we'll leave that for some more in depth discussion. I want to talk about this small little drop and pickup first. The Kepwi Suns dropped Yellow Gin in favor of picking up. Um,
Ellie.
Telly the Basin.
Telly the Basin. That's exactly what it was. So Telly the Basin was picked up in favor of dropping Yellow Gin. Yellow Gin, as I noted during our discussion of the Booney versus Kepri set, has not gotten a chance to play during Season 8 yet. He's rusty. He has. He's been behind and just hasn't found his game yet because he hasn't been able to play. That's not his fault. That's not the Kepri Sun's fault. That's not anyone's fault. It's just bad luck, bad, just a sucky timeline that I think Yellow Gin is going to be able to go down to the mini league, find his game, practice on Season 8, make his way back up to exactly what we know he is, and that's a Season 1 champion.
Yeah, and just to kind of touch on this a little bit, because there was a lot of chatter and a lot of discussion about Tully the Basin being able to be picked up. He was actually here and signed up for season 1, but was talking to me. Was talking to me on the side. Was talking about some issues that he was having and wasn't sure if he was going to be able to play. Um, and then he came back with some good news, thankfully, and everything else. So I allowed him to come back because he was signed up, but he did have himself removed because because of issues. So at that point, then we allowed him to come back. We added a few other players to that free agency list, which was added. You know, I want to say about 2 weeks ago to fill out mini league rosters as well. So I do understand that there was people that uh, were not in the server that were a couple of days late that joined and were not able to sign up. So there's some clarity on that for you guys listening into this. So yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Tully the Basin has been playing with the Capri Suns guys for a while now. I know he's in their personal Discord where they play casuals and have their comms and whatever. So it is um, it is chemistry that I know is already there. I think this is a good pickup for Capri and is good for all parties for sure.
I definitely think it's good for Kepler Suns. I do believe it's an upgrade. They're gonna get a little bit more of an experience and more synergy built with that team. Um, some pre-made synergy basically built for that. Um, and Yellow Jim moving down into the minor leagues, which my team did end up picking him up to play, since I didn't actually have a true solo laner. I had a bunch of supports on my team, so I it'll definitely be a good learning experience for all of those guys. For all of those guys. We'll see how Kapui Sun's kind of gets better to move forward here, and it'll give Yellowgen that time where he can practice with some of these guys he actually knows, that are already on my squad. So that'll be nice for him to kind of be able to learn and learn season 8, get ahead of that curve now, and get back into the majors. That the major side. So I mean, he was a season 1 champion, so he knows what it takes to be a champion of this league. So get him a little bit of practice, get him a little work back into the flow of things, and we'll soon, more than likely, soon we'll see him up in the majors again.
Exactly. So, moving along, let's get on to the big stuff in terms of roster moves. The big moves that happened today with It's the Resistance. So there were some rumblings over the past few days of some roster moves incoming for It's the Resistance. Just issues with team chemistry and scheduling. There were a couple of guys that just wanted moved, wanted replaced. Herc needed a change of culture in that locker room, so to speak. So uh, Hercules got to the drawing board and started to mix some things up, which included a couple of drops and pickups, as well as a big trade with All In. Paniq, do you want to talk a little bit about the pickups before I go into the trade?
Yes. Let me pull them up here really quick in our Discord so I can actually see them and give you the exact timing of how everything kind of happened here. So we do know. So Dual Peg Leg was the first. He got dropped from that squad, and Achilles was picked up here. Dual Peg Leg being EU, he wasn't able to have a whole lot of time to play with the squad. The scheduling just did not work out for Mr. Resistance and Peg Leg. So unfortunately, unfortunately, he was dropped, and Achilles was picked up. I do believe Achilles here is an ADC main, so we'll see how that pans out for him. Then he also picked up
Achilles is a solo main.
Achilles
wait,
JC.
Oh my god! Yeah, me and NMR talked about this earlier. Their comms are gonna be whack with that.
Yeah.
Achilles JC was then picked up from free agency, and Enigma Skater, who, due to personal issues, life stuff going on, decided that it was time for him to leave the Discord. He was there for Herc as his sub just in case, and they came to a decision where Enigma's not really wanting to play Comp Smite anymore, so they went ahead and picked up Achilles JC for that sub position potentially. I don't know how their roster's going to pan out, but he was picked up. Now time for the big news. So we knew there was whispers, we knew there was rumors of an actual trade coming out of this. It's the Resistance, and not just pickups, but an actual trade. Some of us were privy to some of the information. Like myself, I talked to Herc in depth. I talked to his team a little bit. We kind of discussed some things, and so It's Resistance ended up trading Subkiller and Coda Bear to All In for Mark Wings and Ruin, or Mr. Daddy. This trade was really talked about a lot throughout different parties here, different parties that were not directly involved. But like you were saying, Joe, It's Resistance and Herc, they wanted a different culture. Things were not going well. Scheduling was kind of an issue, and comms were an issue. And moving on now, Herc's getting a kind of a change of culture. Where comms can be a little bit better. Scheduling might be a little bit better for him. So we're gonna see how that pans out for him as the rest of the season goes on. Now, your team, now gains Coda Bear, who's playing jungle here in this league, I do believe. Um,
I actually did move him, but I'll talk about that momentarily.
was playing jungle for his resistance is kind of the thing that he wanted to do, and you also picked up Subkiller, who is proven to be one of, if not the best soul laners here in QSL. So kind of talk me through it. I know you just kind of dropped the roster hint a little bit. Talk me through it. Like what made you decide that this was the way to go for you?
Absolutely, man. My thing was there was no way that I was breaking up Mark and Mr. Daddy. Those two players, when for the time that they were on All In, were some of the nicest, most likable people that I've ever played with, and I can't talk enough about how well they played together, how great of players they are, and how willing they are to work with everyone in the squad to make the team better. And Herc actually messaged me later on in the night about how willing they were to work to change that culture that we were talking about and bring a new light to It's the Resistance as a team altogether, where uh, these two players are going to work well, going to work toward that goal of bringing It's the Resistance back to where they should have been at the beginning of the season before some of the culture took a little bit of a hit. Now that's talking about what It's the Resistance gains. Now I will go into what I gain as captain of All In. I do gain Coda Bear, a fantastic player, Subkiller, a fantastic player, and I mean, I was really lucky to be able to make this trade. Herc uh, saw it as an opportunity to uh, give two guys who play well and uh, are able to make huge plays and who wanted out in turn for two also really good players that would change the culture as he needed to. So that was just kind of the rumblings behind it. Um, Now, the original trade was not 2 for 2. I'll say that now. And I can go into a lot of depth about that. The original trade was I wanted to trade the two guys for just Coda. I did think that that was a better trade that would really improve both squads. I thought that even without his team needing a culture change, I thought that was very similar to the Phenoms Gloria trade, where I still think that it can improve each squad in its own unique way. But upon talking to Herc a little bit more this afternoon, or this morning rather, it was after he had made a couple of those drops and pickups. It is after he found a couple guys who were willing to work toward creating that new culture on the team and who were willing to work with Herc uh, to bring some great people in. And when I was talking about doing a 2 for 1 trade, his response was, "Well, who do I drop? Austin's a great player. Both the Achilleses are willing to work together, underrated players." He was like, "I have now a bunch of guys that I don't want to drop, and now I have Coda and Subkiller. If you do a 2 for 1 trade, I'd pretty much have to just drop Subkiller. So why don't I just go ahead and throw him in the trade as well to better it for me and also um, not have to give it up for nothing." Which, granted, um, it's a little bit of a difficult decision for Herc. I know he didn't want to give anything else up, um, but it did work out in my favor to get it as a 2 for 2 trade at the end of the day, and I'm really lucky about that. But that was the reasoning behind it going from a 2 for 1 trade to a 2 for 2, and that's how that trade came to be in the process of today.
Yeah, and definitely something that was talked about quite a bit. You know, not only this Phenoms Gloria trade, which I thought made both teams better in the long run. Now this trade to me favors you quite a bit more. I give you definitely an A+ rating on this. Now with Herc, I know he was trading away to change a culture. Do I think it made his team better? Not necessarily. He does gain some synergy here, which is nice. However, with the synergy changes and the culture change, I definitely give him an A. He definitely did what he wanted to do. Now the overall skill trade and kind of how things worked out a little bit. Um, it's going to be an overall C trade for me out of this. And kind of to explain it, you're losing two high end, Diamond GM, Diamond Masters GM type players um, across the board to two Diamond players. I mean, it's kind of difficult. It's a difficult situation, and for Herc specifically, was definitely difficult. Uh, However, he knew that he needed to make some changes in the culture that was his team to be able to succeed and not really worry too much about trying to please. I guess you could say, for lack of a better word, trying to please, Kodo and please Subkiller here. So hopefully, as the season goes on, we'll see Herc's team gain some synergy and be able to be happy with the changes that he's made so far. So we'll see how it all turns out for him in the end. But overall, overall trade grade to me is a A+, A++++, for all in, and the resistance kind of a C overall with the pickups and the trade in itself. So we'll see how Herc's team does from here going forward. Um, this is definitely not to bash anybody. This is just coming out of his opinions. Um, so we'll see how both teams kind of grow here as a unit, as two different units. So we'll see how things kind of roll out.
For sure. I do think that, I mean, one of the biggest issues I know with that squad was scheduling, and as we talked about, work schedules just didn't line up. Having an EU player with a couple players who didn't get out of work till later. I know that has been a point of contention for myself trying to schedule the game with Booney Gang this week. I have an EU player, and Boomy House, some of his players aren't really available until super late at night. So we had a little bit of trouble finding a time that was good for both of us. But it was a similar situation that didn't mix up quite well. That meshed with some other things going on within the team. Made it so that I think that overall the pickups, while may not favor the resistance in its entirety, does help in a lot of different aspects that aren't necessarily on the battleground. So
Definitely. I mean, there's a lot of things you have to take into consideration. Not only is it scheduling and synergy, those being kind of the major things. You also have to think about the culture of the team. Like, as you guys can chill, play casuals, or chill and chat and talk to each other. Sometimes you have to figure out, what needs to be fixed. I come from this MyComp, portion where there wasn't a lot of roster drops. We really didn't drop a lot of people. We made changes after I was with the same team for a year and a half, and we made two roster changes in that year and a half. One of those was a position switch, which was myself moving out of ADC and moving to mid lane. And then we picked up our sub, who was an ADC main at the time. I was able to coach him up, train him on how to actually play ADC back in season 3, season 4 time frame. And then we moved our support. We actually picked up Olive, and we played with Olive for quite some time. So I mean, those are really the only things that we changed. At any time that we would, kind of get some losing sprees, or scrims weren't going our way, or something like that, we were kind of that team that we didn't really break up. We saw a lot of other competition that we were playing against break up quite a bit, and players going to different places and not trying to build. But I do understand, there is a time and place where you have to make a decision, you have to make a move to either better like the culture around your team or some synergy issues or anything like that. So I definitely can understand both sides of the coin
Yeah.
here, and both coming from a perspective of coaching and playing. So
Yeah, without a doubt. So as we start to hit the 45-minute mark on this episode, we didn't plan to go this long, but we've got a lot to say after what has been going on this week. So let's go ahead and skip right to expectations and predictions. Let's give you a little bit of a week 2 preview of the 4 matches going on this week. And if we want, we can even talk about mini league a little bit. I know that should be starting up soon, but let's just do a quick little preview of these first 4 games. Let's start off with the first game that's supposed to be happening this weekend. No time confirmed quite yet, but Gloria et Mortem versus It's the Resistance. 2 squads looking to play with some new players, get some new guys in there, and have them prove themselves. What do you guys think?
well, this game itself has actually been rescheduled because of the roster switches for It's the Resistance. However, when this game is played, which should be sometime early on next week, before their third set of the year is played. I do believe it's going to be a 2-1 in favor of Gloria et Mortem. I just feel like I think Herc's team can pull a game out for sure, definitely here. But I do think with some of these rosters and being kind of a newer roster, for the most part, almost a reconstructed roster for Herc here, gaining a couple players and losing a couple here. I do believe it's going to be a 2-1 for Gloria et Mortem. I feel like the addition of Cyber and Atticus here. I know Atticus, more or less maybe, in the support role or sub. I don't know exactly how their roster is going to pan out. But I do know that some of these moves that have been made, Cyber going to be in the jungle, and I do know Rai going to ADC. Those are going to be some good changes to help that team grow. We'll see how it all pans out as the season or as that as it kind of moves forward. But I do believe it's going to be a 2-1 in favor of Gloria et Mortem.
All right, so next down the list, a 10:30 p.m. game on Saturday. The also newly constructed All In versus Booney Gang. How are we looking on this one?
I think this is going to be a fantastic set. This is going to be Booney Gang is kind of a sleeper team. Everybody kind of voted them kind of towards the bottom middle of the pack, towards the bottom here. But I think actually, in all honesty, I personally don't think this is going to be a 2-0 for All In. I think with these roster changes and people moving to different places, I do believe All In's still going to win, but I think it's going to be another banger of a set. 2-1 All In.
You mentioned a little bit about the roster for All In making a little bit of a switch after acquiring Coda, because what All In gave up was the mid and the sub for a mid and solo, for a jungle and solo player. What I'm going to do as captain is I'm moving Coda Bear to mid. He told me that he would be willing to play mid on the squad. So he's been practicing up his mid, and we played a scrim with him in mid today. And we have Subkiller starting in solo and moved 0 into our substitute position. So that is the lineup that you can expect to see from All In tomorrow night versus Booney Gang. In the off chance, because it being a 10:30 p.m. game, that will be 3:30 a.m. for Dutma. In the case that he cannot make it, we may have to switch around some roles, may have to put NMR in support. We don't want to put Coda in support just because putting the really good players in their main roles may start a chain reaction with the other teams in the league that I wish that I could throw him in support just for like one game because my main support might not be able to make it at 3:30 in the morning his time, but we'll try to get NMR in there, and we'll try to do the best we can with an edited roster. So a little bit of roster options for All In that you might see tomorrow night. So stay tuned for that.
Definitely. Skeet, do you have any predictions for any of these games? Bonzai, what are your
Oh,
predictions for these games too, man?
Yeah. Yeah.
for game for the first game, or you want to go first? Or I'm gonna lose connection. I'll go real quick, and then you do yours real quick.
Go for it.
I'm gonna lose connection for a minute. I think for the Gloria set, I think it's 2-0 Gloria. I don't think it'll be close. I feel like Herc's team is. I don't think they've scrimmed yet. You know, they're a brand new squad. In my opinion, I feel like Rye's gonna step up and you know, playing at the level he does. I feel like Rye's gonna shine through that ADC role. I'm probably gonna lag out here in like 2 seconds, so just be aware. I'm honestly just looking. What I'm looking for out of that first set with Gloria versus Resistance, I'm hoping to see somebody step up on her squad. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for somebody to try and be the guy for his team, because I feel like he doesn't have any players that have been the guy before on their squads in recent seasons. So that's how I feel on that one.
Yeah, personally, I think I'm going to agree more with Paniq on this one. I think it'll be a 2-1 for Gloria at Mortem. Resistance, you know, as Skeet said, hasn't had the time to really practice a whole lot. Really need to find that team synergy. I think that it'll come with them pretty quickly, but that mid 3v3, Hercules MVP, Mark Wings, and Mr. Daddy, three really good players that if they match up well against the other side, I think that they can take a game through that mid 3v3 alone. And as long as their solo and ADCs perform up to expectation and at least try to keep it close, I think that Resistance can definitely take away a game from this set, but I do think Gloria will take it 2-1 at the end. In terms of All In versus Booney Gang, it's hard to say what I expect from Booney Gang. I saw them play against the Kepui Suns this week. I thought that they looked really good. Enemy God in the mid lane, obviously, just a fantastic player. Rapid Carnation, a great support player, right? You cannot sleep on these guys. It is definitely one that I'm going to be looking out for, and we're going to have to play carefully and make sure that we're on our tip-top game. So I definitely think it'd be a 2-1 in favor of All In. If it is a 2-0, I think that both games are going to be really close.
Definitely, and that's kind of a good perspective to hear from you too, Joe. Because I mean, you are the captain of one of these teams that's playing here. You know, Skeet, same goes for you too. You know, seeing this Phenoms versus Goon Squad set, which we'll discuss later on. You know, it's kind of good to see you guys' perspective on what you guys kind of expect, what you guys kind of see coming out of this game. You know, out of your sets, it's definitely a perspective to see. But yeah, I'm gonna have to agree so far. I think it's gonna be 2-1, 2-1. Now this next set. This set is one that I'm kind of really excited for, and I'm excited for this set because I really want to see how this is gonna work out. The Kepui Suns versus the Dharmic Killers.
Yeah,
I think this is going to be a 3-game banger. I think it's definitely gonna rival the Dharmic All-In set from week 1. These are two very good teams. You know, Davies playing mid against Meaty Man League. That is going to be a fantastic matchup right there. Those two are going to match up very well against each other.
Dharmic just feels like that team, man. This feels like it's going to be the most fun team out of any of these 8 teams. Dharmic Killers is going to be the most fun to watch, in my opinion.
Definitely, the way that they kind of play, you know, they from very first set, Raptor. I mean, look at what Raptor did. He didn't do very much damage at all. I think across both games, I think he did a grand total of like 21k. I think somewhere right around those, like I think 18 to 21K, somewhere in that general range. But he didn't die, really. He didn't really die. He kind of baited his body and let the rest of his team just come in and just win the fights.
What
He
are
was
you guys
playing.
doing?
We're recording a podcast, Brownside.
Oh,
Everybody,
oh,
welcome.
oh,
Everyone, welcome special guest Brownside to the discussion. We're talking about some week 2 previews. Brownside, if you want to talk with
Hi,
us.
how's it going, everybody? My name is Brownside. I'm here just chatting. Yeah, it's a great podcast. Interesting.
Absolutely, man.
I mean, when you have all poo join.
But yeah, I mean, I have to agree with you, Joe. I think that I think Dartmouth Hills is going to be one of the funner teams to watch out of the, coming out of this league. You never really know exactly what to expect. They've got a couple of different players that could pop off. I mean, you saw it. I mean, you saw it last week, firsthand. You saw I'm already mad pop off, uh, with the Ganesha pick. Like you saw her pop off. You could see Davies pop up, which he kind of started to pop off in that second, what I think second game or third game, game 3,
I think it was the
when
third
he
game.
started
Yeah.
to kind of pop off. Yeah, when he started to pop off, and was playing super well with I'm already mad, and Raptor was playing really well in that third game as well. So I mean, at any given point, you know, anybody on that team can just kind of start to pop off and start playing very well very quickly. So I think their team is definitely going to be something fun to watch moving forward. This set's really hard for me to pick a winner out of. I really think, with this pickup of Telly, and Telly going to be moving into this ADC role out of the mid lane. It's not a whole lot different. The build pathings are a little bit obviously different because mages, mage items, but he also was one of those guys that was kind of like me, plays hunters in mid, so he knows how hunters are built, knows how hunters are played into certain matchups. So we shall see kind of how Telly meshes with that team going forward here. Goat Boy is going to move over into that support role, his natural role. So we'll see how this kind of all meshes together. But I have to give this 2-1. I think it's going to be a Dharma Killers 2-1 here. I think they're going to come out on top. But I think it's going to be 3 games, and it's going to be 3 very long games. I don't think it's going to be. I think it's going to be close, kind of like that first set, all in Dharmic set.
I want to watch nothing but the team fights in these games for about 20 years. Like, these are going to be some of the best team fights that QSL will see this season. Both teams have just unbeatable chemistry with each other. They're both teams that are so close knit, so able to work with each other, that I think that the team fights are going to be just some art going forward. So yeah, watch out for these games. I think I'll agree with you. We're gonna see some three really long, really close games. But with how well Dharmic played last week and how together they felt, and and with the Kepwi Suns, it just felt like there was that piece of just a little bit extra missing in their game against Booty Gang. If they can find it, I think it's 2-1 Kepri. If not, it's 2-1 Dharmic. This is all down to how well the Kepri Suns are able to find their game and play what they're used to. Because if they do, I think that they take that 2-1 edge. But it'll be Dharmic otherwise. But it's really hard to tell with these guys.
Yeah, and I mean, we kind of have predictions here, with what we see to be game of the week. This set might actually end up winning game of the week honors, depending on how the set that we're actually fixing to talk about. That's another set that is going to be very fun to watch too. But I think right now that set could definitely win some awards here. There's going to be a lot of clips coming out of that. There's going to be a lot of stuff coming out of that set that's going to be insane. I think it's going to be a very good set. So moving into the Phenoms versus Goon Squad set. Now, the reason why we've kind of had a little quick prediction of like this might be the set of the week. There's been a lot of trash talk back and forth between both of these teams. Goon Squad saying that they're gonna come out and take they're gonna come out and take this set easy.
Chevy keeps saying he's gonna clap cheeks.
This is going to be a fun set. I know Skeet's in here, I know Brownside's in here, both of which are on the Phenom squad. It's hard for me. It's hard for me to say, with their newly constructed roster. It's hard for me to say that they're not going to lose. It's hard for me to say they're not going to win every single game. It's hard for me to say they're not going to win every set 2-0. I think honestly. Not only all in being opposite sides, that's going to be a good set against each other. But this conference matchup here, this is going to be a fun game to watch because right now the way that Skeet has constructed his roster, he's constructed around people being around him. Not only do they have good vibes, not only are they able to coach and talk. They get along. They play casuals together. They hang out. They talk consistently. So they're building that synergy consistently, like every day. Goon Squad I know hasn't got to play a whole lot together. They played some. They're friends. A couple of them are friends on the outside. They play in other leagues together. So my thoughts are this: I do not see. I don't see Phenoms losing a game here. I think this is going to be a longer 2-0 because I do believe, and no offense to Skeet, who is currently sitting in, I do believe with Skeet being the weaker link, the weakest link of his team, and it's not even saying that's a bad thing, I mean, he surrounded himself with players that are fantastic. Skeet being the weakest link of that team. I mean, he played well in the first week set. So I think Goon Squad going into this set is gonna try to focus out Skeet, and try to play around, continuously ganking him and playing to kill him. But I feel like Phenoms already has kind of a plan in place for that to happen. With the roster they've kind of constructed. So it's gonna be tough to see, but I do believe this is gonna be a 2-0 in favor of Phenoms.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the Phenoms are built to last. This roster is filled head to toe with just some great players, and it's really, really hard to say any team is really going to take them down. But you look on the side of Goon Squad, you have Kittens, you have Kid Slim, both two great players coming out of that V-Gods team from season 1. You have Chevy, who led a tactical feeding team that had a tough time in season 1, but Chevy had his bright spots, played well in Nori, a fantastic new addition to the QSL. Pun install Ori, both great players. It's really hard to take a look at this Goon Squad and not say that they're going to win some games, but against such a stacked Phenoms roster, this is quite possibly the worst matchup for Goon Squad in their first game. I don't think that this is the team that they want to play first because, I think that Goon Squad is going to be a much better team than we're going to see this weekend. I think it'll be 2-0 Phenoms. And that doesn't say anything bad about Goon Squad. I think it says more about Phenoms, but Goon Squad has to prove themselves because we haven't seen them yet, and that's just the thing that sucks is that we haven't seen them yet, and we're going into week 2. Like I feel like I'd be a little bit more willing to take a harder look at Goon Squad in terms of this set, but otherwise I do think it's going to be a 2-0 for Phenoms. But I mean, Goon Squad versus any other team, listen, that's a good team.
Yep. I mean, I don't disagree, Skeet. I know you're the captain, and Brownside, you were here as well as a player on that Phenoms roster. I mean, what do I mean, what do you guys? I mean, what do you think, Skeet? I mean, I know there's been a lot of trash talk and things going on. I kind of want you to touch on kind of what I was, what I was talking about there. The obvious. I mean, it's kind of the obvious part there. The potential for them just to try to focus you out early, mid, and late. Um,
Put in earlier, honestly, I was just uh, my words of wisdom. I wish they would. If they're focusing on me, I just want them to know I have a lot more. I mean, I built a team. I mean, as Bonsai said, I built a team to last. I got players on my team that I think can all win lane just fine by themselves. I mean, if they're all focused on mid lane, we'll win we'll win
and
jungle. It's
unfortunately,
not,
oh, there you go.
Oh, there you
I
go.
feel like that's the strong part about my team. What?
Sorry,
You
you
cut
cut
out.
out momentarily, but I think we have
Oh,
the
did I?
gist of you cut out right before saying about how they'll win lanes.
Oh yeah, I feel like if they focus one lane, they're gonna lose the other ones. I feel like I have a strong squad everywhere, and I feel like if they really want to beat us, they gotta focus everywhere. They can't just focus one spot. And I will put this on podcast, and I'm gonna put it now. I'm gonna ruin Chevy's stats for the rest of the season this week, and I just want to make that a known fact.
And there it is, the BM banter between some good friends. I love it.
There you go.
All right,
That's happening.
All right. So,
that's
any last expectations or predictions before we end it off? Phenoms versus Goon Squad was our last point that we have on our talking list for this week. Let's just end it off with this. I want everyone to give me a quick. What are you most excited for in the QSL this weekend?
me.
First.
Whoever wants to go first.
Skeet, go ahead, buddy.
No, go ahead. I was telling you. I mean, you were talking. I felt dead air, and I was
It's
like, all right, I'm fucking
it's
hit it off.
it's tough. It's tough to say. The thing that I'm most excited for really is this all-in Dharmic set. I'm really excited for that. I know I've said it quite a bit.
Oh, you mean the
As I
Kepri
was
Dharmic set?
discussing. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. The
Yeah.
Kepri Dharmic set. Sorry about that. That set I think is going to be fantastic. It's going to be a three game. It's going to be a big three-game set where you're going to see a lot of elegant team fighting. You're going to see a lot of things that are definitely what you want to see coming out of Comp Smite. Team fights are going to be great. Um, the dives are going to be fun. It's going to be fun to see how both teams play into uh, how they play into each other. With with how Darmok played in week one, versus how Kepley played in week one, and how they're gonna how they're gonna bounce back. How is Darmok gonna get better? Um, I just that's what I'm most excited for this weekend, honestly.
Yeah, Ski.
How about you?
I think we're missing Skeet, but I'll go ahead
What?
and
No, I didn't. Sorry, you like cut out when you talked, and like I didn't
All right.
fully hear what you said.
then go ahead
Were you
and
asking for my opinion?
yeah,
Okay.
go ahead and give me the one thing you're most excited for here in week 2.
If if I'm being honest here, it's gotta be Gem versus the Resistance. I feel like that is going to be like two teams that I feel like are going to be pretty close competition in this league. I really feel like, I mean, I want to see Herc's squad come into themselves. Like, they're brand new, and that's everyone. I mean, you can say like, oh yeah, you kind of talked down. You said they were going to lose. You didn't say it was going to be 2-1. Not every good set is 2-1. I'm excited to see who steps up for the Resistance here. Is what I kind of am looking forward to. Um, I'm looking forward to see how that new squad meshes together. I really think that both teams have made trades this week, for the betterment of their team, and I really want to see how their squads come along, and how that really affects their gameplay going into this next week and into the season. To be honest here.
Thanks, Ski. Really quick, Ski. I just want to let you know, like, it's a podcast and stuff like that, but man, this is like you guys writing a whole novel over here. Jeez, you guys have been live for I don't even know how long.
We're approaching the hour 10 mark, and I'm going to
Holy shit.
yeah, I'm going to. Well, I mean, we've had a lot to talk about. I'm gonna go ahead and finish it up with what I'm most excited for this week. I was gonna say Gloria Morin versus the Resistance because I want to see some new squads play, but I'm gonna go ahead and change that to Phenoms versus Goon Squad because I want to see a new squad play. This Goon Squad team is gonna be so much fun to watch, and I cannot wait to see them perform in their first game on
All
Sunday.
right, Joe. You know you don't have to lie like on a podcast. Like, I'm joking. I'm joking.
But yeah, I think
It's definitely
think
gonna
we'll
be a
see
lot
some
of
good
fun.
sets. Yeah.
It's definitely going to be a lot of fun. I think this is week 2. We're going to start to see some teams kind of moving into that, moving forward, moving up in the rankings. Some teams maybe moving down in the rankings. We'll see how it all kind of plays out. This is where you're going to start to see a little bit of the shape of the league, shape of the divisions kind of starting to come out. Whether it be, a surprise, somebody pulls off a 2-1 victory that we don't see, or whatever the case is. Anything can happen, and I'm excited for it. This week's going to be fun.
Without a doubt. And as you said, this week's going to be fun, and we can go ahead and end it on that. So thank you, everyone who tuned into this very long podcast, and I hope that you had a good time wrapping up your week 1 recap of the QSL for special guest Brownside, as well as my main men, Simple Fate, Skeet, and Paniq. I'm Bonzaijoe. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll catch you guys next week.